Physical exercise is good for the mind, body, and spirit. Involvement in sports develops teamwork skills, teaches discipline, fosters healthier individuals, and boosts self-esteem. In this week's Guyana 411, we'll examine what the government has been doing in developing infrastructure, policies, and opportunities for athletes who have shown potential to perform exceptionally on the world stage to boost the level of sports in Guyana. This is Guyana 411. I am Delon Sanko. Infrastructure plays a critical and integral role in our everyday lives. It also plays a critical role in the lives of athletes. Infrastructure presents opportunities, opportunities make for participation, and participation open doors that will afford Guyanese athletes the chance to perform on the world stage, such as the Caribbean Games, Pan America Games, and the Olympic Games. In this segment, we will examine the strides made by the government to develop and make available the necessary infrastructure for sports development in Guyana.
Athletes across the country have been making the call for the provision of infrastructure which will provide them with the chance to practice and train in their respective disciplines. However, this call has also been made for infrastructure that is of an international standard. The cries of those athletes were heard and have been realized as the government continues to make strides in making such facilities available. With the historic upgrading of the Cliff Anderson Sports Hall's basketball court by the National Sports Commission to the tune of $20 million, Guyana can now host regional and international basketball games. Director of Sport, Christopher Jones, explains.
Making history in the sense that these FIBA certified basketball goals, it's the first time Guyana as a country in general have these equipment in country. So immediately right there, and then we have created history. It's the first time. In the sense too that it now places Guyana in a position of which we can now host regional and international tournaments because of the FIBA certified basketball goals that we currently have in country. So history has been created right there.
Jones says the development of the basketball court would have a great impact on local basketball players.
It provides the opportunity for them to now play and practice on a certified regulation court, one, and two, with the uses of the basketball goals that we have. It prepares them that when they go to represent the country regionally and internationally, is that the facilities that are had here in Guyana will be the same facilities that they're going and meet in regions internationally and so forth. They always have been at a disadvantage because they would have been accustomed to playing with the goals that we had there from 1987 thereabout. And when they go abroad, then it's a completely different basketball goal. New environment, it puts a difficulty on any athlete who have been training and preparing for same. So now Guyana basketballers are on par with those persons in the region and of course internationally.
For 2017, the sport director says the National Gymnasium is expected to get an upgrade which will see the establishment of a multi-purpose court and tennis court costing $32.8 million. The sum of $10 million will be going towards installing a cool air venting system to the gymnasium.
Of course, we would have already met with the consultants, technical drawings and so forth are being done, and hopefully before the conclusion of 2017, we will see those multi-purpose courts being established at the gymnasium. That in itself will allow us, it will take the pressure off of the amount of different disciplines that use the gymnasium and the sports hall in the afternoon for training. So at least we'll be able to allow more training to happen as well.
The government has also earmarked on enhancing community grounds across the country through its ground enhancement project to give youths the opportunity and place to occupy their time meaningfully. Initially, the sum of $1 million was designated for the enhancement of grounds. The money was expected to provide lighting, fencing, levelling of grounds and pavilions. However, Project Director of the Ground Enhancement Program, Randolph Critchlow, explains that after carefully reviewing the program, it was realized that $1 million was inadequate for the government to provide quality infrastructure for sport facilities.
This would mean, of course, that we aren't able to do as many grounds, but the few that we would do, or we did in 2016, they would have met a minimum standard of fence, surface area, lighting, and seating, right? So that the people of the community can actually benefit and see what this money the government put into it has done, and it can go further. So we went for a quality over quantity approach.
In 2016, a total of 53 grounds were completed under the Ground Enhancement Project. However, with the revised program, Critchlow says that only 25 grounds will be enhanced for 2017. $150 million was allocated for the program in the 2017 national budget. One of the grounds scheduled to be upgraded this year is the community ground at Belladrum, West Coast, Berbice. The ground, the sport director says, will not only benefit youths within the village, but also surrounding schools. Chairman of the Neighborhood Democratic Council, Emil Wilson, and Councillor Shondell David says that the ground enhancement should have materialized a long time ago, but they're happy that something is finally happening.
With this input, what you would want to provide for us, it will motivate them to, organize themselves and to see the benefit of what you want to do for them. Please see how you can assist us.
I welcome that enhancement because we have, as you can see, we have so much young people here and the infrastructure is not so good. So I welcome that because I know when that happens, our playground would be secure, and we're protecting it from vagrants and everybody. So our children will be very happy.
Other infrastructural works which will significantly boost sports development in Guyana is the laying of several synthetic tracks across the country. In the 2017 national budget, the sum of $210,000 was approved for the laying of synthetic tracks in regions 2, 4, 6, 7, and 10. There have been disputes between choosing on two selected locations for their synthetic tracks. Jones says that in Region 6, the mayor and councillors have already agreed and decided where they want the synthetic track.
So far, it looks like they are inclined to have the track laid at the Bornham Park. So we would have done a site visit with their technical people, and subsequent to that, they would have already submitted a proposal which shows the synthetic track being laid at the Bornham Park. So that proposal has been submitted.
The tracks, upon completion, will boast a 400-meter track, pavilions, and football field.
The importance of infrastructure cannot be underscored enough towards the development of sports in Guyana. However, without policies which provide guidance to the direction sports need to go, all the infrastructure in the world is useless. This segment of Guyana 411, we will highlight some of the policies the government has in place and plans for sports development.
Guyana is without a sport policy. However, this will be a thing of the past, since one of the most critical pieces of policy, which will give direction to sports, is that of the National Sports Policy. Minister within the Ministry of Education, Nicolette Henry, explains why a national sports policy is necessary.
The sports policy, I believe, would be the single most effective initiative that could provide impetus and greater strategic direction as we strengthen sports here in Guyana. I believe that this is something that requires the undivided attention of a highly skilled and technical person who can take the lead on developing that strategic plan.
According to the minister, when crafting the sports policy, all objectives must be taken into consideration. The minister explains that because Guyana is not on par with the developed country's infrastructure, the objectives of the policy must be well thought out.
We have to have objectives that are in keeping with where we are as a country. we know that we do not have the infrastructure nor the resources like the developed world, and therefore our objectives must take that into account.
Another important policy which the government has been working to introduce is a school sports timetable. Minister of Education Rupert Roopnarine says that the push to get sports back in schools is to create an education system which caters for the holistic development of children.
We have children who do very, very well at the examinations, very well. But I want to tell you that I personally don't believe that examination is the end rate. It's good to do well at the examinations. I don't want to discourage anyone from that. The fact of the matter is that education is about more than passing subjects at examinations. It's about the whole person. And at your stage, you are a real input device, taking a lot of things in. And we have to make sure that we lay the foundation where you are now, that we lay a proper foundation so we can build on it.
Minister within the Ministry of Education, Nicolette Henry, who has responsibility for sports, is singing from the same songbook. While in some schools physical education is a timetabled subject, the minister points out that it is optional. She says that one of the major obstacles to physical education in schools is having parents and students understand the importance of sports as part of the curriculum.
It has to do with people's own understanding and concept and value that they put on a holistic person. Because sometimes, we can become, off balance in many ways and focus in one area more than the other. But then you have to look at the child as an entire being and see that there are other areas outside of academic that one would need to place emphasis on if you're really to have a competent and holistic person.
Now that the government has completed the Commission of Inquiry into the Education System, Minister Henry says that it will aid in the reform process, which will see the realization of sports being reintroduced into schools.
The curriculum reform process is where you would actually be able to see it take on a more formal approach in terms of having it on the timetable. And you don't want to be duplicative or excessive in your approach. And so you'd want to make those changes when it comes to the curriculum reform process. Nonetheless, what we've asked the program heads to do, and that has been since 2015, is to ensure that they continue to place a lot of emphasis in terms of raising awareness on the importance of sports.
The whole idea behind having sports in schools as a timetabled subject is to create a cadre of well-rounded young people. The government has also taken a bold step towards protecting athletes from causing harm to themselves, which would lead to them destroying promising careers. These steps include the government's introduction of anti-doping rules to safeguard athletes from using illegal enhancement drugs to improve their performances. Director of Sport Christopher Jones explains.
On the world stage, anti-doping is huge. Is one of the most important things in part of any sporting body. But regionally, and in Guyana in particular, it's not something that is being driven by the sports authorities. So you have a lot of our locals will fall prey, that they believe that they can use these substances, participate in sports, do well, and that is what will elevate them. So essentially now it's setting that tone to them now, that if you use those substances, you can't get farther than that.
Educational talks on anti-doping will be held with the various sporting associations, athletes and students for them to have a clear understanding of why staying away from illegal drugs is important to their careers.
We will very soon be interacting with the various associations and the athletes, guiding them on what is currently obtained regionally and internationally as it relates to anti-doping. And of course we want to target pupils, because of course sometime later they're going to move into that stream. So we're going to be doing programs in schools as well, educating them about anti-doping and what is the expectations of the regional and international body for persons who are involved in sports. So at least some of the youngsters will know that burning weed before you're playing football doesn't necessarily mean you could dribble well or score goals, because that's a perception.
Jones says once Guyana adopts anti-doping laws, athletes participating in local competitions will be subject to testing. If found positive, they will be sanctioned.
Any tournament and whatnot that we're funding is that those athletes will have to subject themselves to tests. And if they would have used in a few days recently, they see themselves being disqualified from participating.
The anti-doping initiative is another step in the right direction by the government to raise the standard of sport in Guyana. Additionally, the NSC established a national sports database at a cost of $2.8 million. The database contains information about past and present athletes and their specific disciplines. Such a system, the sports director says, will make it easy when selecting athletes to represent Guyana and can help increase Guyana's chance of medaling at the 2020 Olympic Games in Tokyo, Japan.
In the database, we will identify, or in fact we have already identified a few athletes, varying disciplines, that based on their associations and federation indication, they can medal in Olympics. So essentially we are preparing them now for 2020 Tokyo Games. And of course, we will continue to monitor their progress and lend support in whatever way it's needed, whether it be financially, to send them to participate in regional tournament, to ensure that their health and well-being is taken care of, because the database speaks about having a collaborative effort being done with the Ministry of Public Health.
Jones highlights that the database will not only feature information on athletes, it would also have a Facebook page and a website.
Academic and sports goes hand in hand. Recognizing its importance, the government, since taking office, issued a number of sports scholarships to athletes who have represented Guyana well on the international stage.
In 2016, the NSC created history by affording athletes for the first time scholarships to study abroad. A number of athletes received fully paid scholarships to study overseas while still pursuing their careers as athletes. The athletes were awarded scholarships to study at the University of the West Indies, Mona campus, and G.C. Foster College of Physical Education and Sport in Jamaica to the tune of $4 million each for 4 years. Laverne Fraser, a commissioner at the NSC, says that the scholarships were awarded based on the athletes' performance while representing the University of Guyana at overseas events.
The UV Mona campus offered these athletes scholarships. Of course, this is an opportunity that we here in Guyana could not allow to go. And so as soon as we got back, we started the agitation, and I must say that I was really pleased with the kind of response that we got.
The athletes, who will soon be completing their first year at the university, says that they are managing to balance both training while keeping up their grades. Emmanuel Archibald, 22, who is a 100-meter track athlete pursuing a bachelor's degree in sociology, shares his experience.
The training has been somewhat hard to an extent, but you get, after a while, you get into the system, and it's kind of different from Guyana, but it's okay. And the school is taking care mostly of everything else.
22-year-old Owen Adonis, who specializes in the 100 and 200-meter races and is pursuing a bachelor's degree in management studies, says that adapting to studying and training is becoming much easier.
The training has been very difficult. It's a larger volume than we're accustomed to in Guyana, and it's very consistent. We've been training morning and afternoons basically every day, 6 days a week, and that took a while to get accustomed to, but I've grooved into it. School-wise, studies, it was easier to adapt to than the training. I'm very comfortable, and the school has been doing well.
Natrina Hooper, 25, specializes in a number of disciplines, which include triple jump, long jump, and the 100 and 400-meter races. She is pursuing a bachelor's degree in science and gender development studies. While training is coming along well, she's optimistic that she will be able to do the same with her studies.
The training is somewhat difficult, seeing that I'm now getting some jump training that I'm not really accustomed to. But so far, I am improving in my high jump, 200 and the 400. I will be starting classes this semester, and hopefully I will be balancing both.
Alex Stanley, a physical education teacher, is the first ever Guyanese to be awarded a scholarship in the capacity of a teacher and will be pursuing a bachelor's in physical education and sports. Stanley says that he will use the opportunity to become a better teacher than he was when he left.
So far, so good. Look forward to becoming some person, a better individual, an athlete, come back 2020. Classes are well. Quality of living, good so far.
The latest batch to benefit from scholarships was the 12-member team which displayed outstanding performances when they represented Guyana at the recently concluded Caribbean Free Trade Association Cariftic Games. Jones made the announcement at the recently held National Sports Awards ceremony where the athletes were all guests.
As a result of their academic and sports achievements, the National Sports Commission tonight hereby, by virtue of this elite squad, will make available to all of you a full scholarship to attend the University of Guyana. And as mentioned before, ladies and gentlemen, the National Sports Commission, through the Minister within the Ministry of Education, Nicolette Henry, we are indeed committed to the development of sports and our athletes in general.
Keisha Phillips, Claudice McCoy, Shantona Bright, Onasha Rogers, Tremaine Brown, Natrisha Hooper, Daniel Williams, Tariq Boyle, Compton Caesar, Anifri Hedeker, Samuel Lynch, and Matthew McKenzie were the latest recipients of scholarships. The athletes' performances at the Games were deemed by many to be the best showing by the Land of Many Waters at the Cariftic Games. The team helped Guyana cross the finish line in 5th out of 28 countries while grabbing 4 gold medals, a silver medal, and 3 bronze medals. Jones is urging more athletes to be committed to their disciplines as more incentives will continue to accrue for serious involvement in sport.
We have come to the end of another edition of Guyana 411, where we examine a number of areas in sports and the efforts the government has and will undertake for the development of sports in Guyana. Do join us again for another edition of Guyana 411. I'm Delon Sanko. Have a great week.